This is Lake Pepin, Minnesota, where the Mississippi widens to form a lake that is 22 miles long and 2 miles wide. This beautiful lake that is surrounded by mountainous bluffs holds the secrets of the dead, resulting in the haunting of the Anderson House Hotel to this very day.
Is this it right here?
Oh, it kind of looks like the Palmer House a little bit.
Yep, this is it. I'm gonna go around it so you can get it on video.
I'm videotaping right now. Ooh, look at the pretty bridge. And this is the historic Anderson House. Oh, there's a parking spot right there.
You're in my video.
Oh, sorry.
Now here's.
Oh, it's a big one. And I don't have no river.
So Debbie, any feelings about this room?
Yeah.
What are you thinking?
I feel a woman. I feel a woman.
Okay, so our tradition is we each have a white Russian and we toast.
Or a ghost. Cheers.
Cheers. Okay, Diane from Ghost Hunting Grandma's here. The minute we walked into Debbie's room, she said, okay, this room is haunted and there's a woman in it.
I feel like it's Isabel or Bella or something like that. Elizabeth, Isabel, or Bella. So we got to find history.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we went out to eat and we had this whole thing about locking my room because it wouldn't lock.
Her room wouldn't lock.
And so then,
we put this on my bed. Didn't move.
yep. And then, so we made sure this door was locked and we came home from eating and her suitcase was open. I was going to let you tell that.
That's okay. My suitcase is open.
And
Because I was going to go get my ghost hunting stuff because it's in my suitcase. And look at it. I
Maybe-
wouldn't open it like that.
maybe she was going to unpack it for you.
So all of a sudden I heard like a clink, like someone threw like a penny at me or something. It was a tingy sound. And I said, hello, hello. And Diane said that she was in the other room, and you tell them what happened with your room.
So I'm sitting in my room and I didn't hear anyone out in the streets, but all of a sudden I heard very distinctly this voice that went, hi, like that. And then a second later, I heard Debbie go, hello, like that from her room. So I thought she heard the hi, but that's not what she heard.
I heard the tinging of like someone threw something.
So right at the same time she felt like someone threw something in her room, I heard this female voice go, hi. And then when Debbie said, hello, like that, I thought she was responding to the woman, but she never heard the woman.
I didn't hear the voice, no.
Yeah, and so we had some windows open, so we closed all our windows so that we won't get any interference from anyone outside. But honestly, you guys, the streets are,
Empty. There's
They're
no one
dead.
out there.
They're
It's
dead. No pun intended. Yeah.
I feel like do you know if the Anderson house is connected to the Titanic?
I do not know. Why? What are you sensing?
Because I feel like someone that was either in the Titanic, or maybe they were going to the Titanic, or there's some kind of Titanic connection. I really feel in this room. The Titanic keeps on coming up. And maybe it's not the Titanic. Maybe it's one of the other big ships that went down. There was like 3 big ships that went down other than just the Titanic. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But maybe that's why my suitcase was undone. You know what I mean? So because this building was built in 1884, I think. It was in the 1800s,
Mm-hmm.
and the
I think
Titanic
it's-
was 1912.
I think it's even older, honestly.
Oh, it says it's a 144-year-old house.
Okay, so do the math.
You want me to think?
So what is 2022 minus 100?
So like 1888, right? Because if it was 100 years, it would be,
Yeah, it would be in the 1880s.
yeah. Or turn on the flashlight, or push that K2, push it so it shows that you can just, oh, there it goes, it went. Thank you.
Went on its
It
own.
went on its own. Spirit did it on its own. Thank you. Look at it, it's going like crazy.
And usually what we find is when that goes off, other things start to happen. Now we are recording.
It's not showing on the camera. It's not showing on the camera.
You mean the camera went dead?
No, the camera's,
In the wrong position?
yeah, it didn't show. It's gotta have to be up here. Can you turn the K2 on again, please? Thank
There it
you.
goes.
Thank you. Or push that K2, push it so it shows you can just, oh, there it goes. It went. Thank you.
Went on its
It
own.
went on its own. Spirit did it on its own. Thank you. Look at it, it's going like crazy.
And usually what we find is when that goes off, other things start to happen. Now we are recording.
It's not showing on the camera. It's not showing on the camera.
You mean the camera went dead?
No, the camera's
In the wrong position?
yeah, it didn't show. It's gotta have to be up here. Can you turn the K2 on again, please? Thank you.
Oh,
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. It's going strong. Could you make the K2 go all the way across, please?
make it go to the orange or red, please.
Could you make it go to the orange or red? You're doing a good job. Thank you. We appreciate that you're communicating with us.
No.
You're doing a good job.
Yeah. Not to the orange or red yet, though, but we're
If
appreciating it.
if you're male, go to the orange or red. If you're female, go to the orange or red. And you lovely people saw that it was not on. I was telling Diane to turn it on, but Spirit turned it on instead. It's pretty strong.
So you turned on this one so nice. How about this one? Can you, if you are in this room with us, can you turn on this one?
Oh, that one's going, that one's going, that one's going.
No, I just
Thank
asked.
you.
So you turned on this one so nice. How about this one? Can you, if you are in this room with us, can you turn on this
Oh,
one?
that one's going, that one's going, that one's going.
No, I just
Thank
asked.
you.
I just-
Ask again.
So can you make, I just asked and you turn it on, thank you so much. Could you make it go a little bit more toward my finger? Make it go with more colors?
Ask again.
So can you make, I just asked and you turn it on, thank you so much. Could you make it go a little bit more toward my finger? Make it go with more colors? That would be really great if you could.
Could you go a little stronger for us? Oh, there you go. Thank you.
You know, can we get you to light up one of these? Look how beautiful it is.
It's really, really pretty if you could turn it on.
We got one there. Should go off in a second. There we go. And then another motion ball here. Look how nice that would light up those crystals if you managed to turn that on. Usually we have really good luck with those.
We had a lady talk to us
Okay.
for hours with the motion ball, saying yes and no.
Okay.
So I'm going to turn my iPad on. So,
Right.
oh, the motion ball.
Oh my gosh.
Thank you.
Look at that.
Thank you. Could you turn that on again? And the things are moving too.
The K2s?
No, the crystals. Could you turn on again? I wasn't filming you. Could you turn on again?
Well, the live caught it.
Did it?
Mm-hmm.
Did the people see it? I didn't.
I don't know. Did you guys see the ball go off on its own? That was pretty cool. Can you do it again?
Could you do it again, please? Make sure the ones behind me aren't going on. Anybody would like to turn on a light? Oh, thank you. Thank you. Did you get it?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Is that you, Debbie?
What?
Like some stuff rolling or something?
No, I heard the same thing, but I thought it was you.
It could be my toilet. I just flushed the toilet.
Well,
Makes that noise.
I swear this room moves because the crystals are moving again. My bed moved again. Look at, oh, the whole lamp is moving. Oh my God. So. Look at it, look at it, look at it.
What?
Look at this shade. The lampshade is moving. Can you move the lampshade again?
Okay, that's really weird. I mean,
And the crystals are moving again.
the only logical explanation I can come up with is that
The whole thing was shaking. I was not
That-
doing it. Because my bed was moving, and then I looked up, and is that why the shade is all broken?
I mean, is it because I was but I wasn't walking over. I was trying to put on
No.
my shoes.
It's moving again. See it? Look at it.
Yes.
Look at it. Can you move again so I could tape you? Look at it, moving it. It's like I can't film it because it's going like this.
It's moving a lot up on the top. Like, you can see it on the top in reference to the frame behind it.
Right. This red thing, I'm taping, that's what that iPad's doing. We've got a recorder there. We got Diana with the voice box. We got things on the table. And I guess it was a speakeasy down here, right? Isn't that what
Yeah.
you said, Diana? Also, we found out, because if you were watching us live upstairs, what was that?
I don't know. It was really weird. That went across like 3 radio stations. Like, oh. But it was like 3 radio stations, so it wasn't like.
And I guess it was a speakeasy down here, right? Is that what
Yep.
you said, Diane? Also, we found out, because if you were watching us live upstairs, what was that?
I don't know. It was really weird. That went across like 3 radio stations. Like, oh. But it was like 3 radio stations, so it wasn't like a radio.
There's a girl named Sarah, because remember I was saying I thought it was connected to the Titanic? Well, it could be, there was a ship that was lost and a girl committed suicide because she thought her lover was on the boat or ship. That was Diane's pop. And she committed suicide. So maybe that's what I was connecting to upstairs, the loss. I still feel like it's connected to the Titanic, the uppity up people. Wabasha was one of the first cities in Minnesota. So there's a lot of history here. Are you from the 1885 or 1888? What was that?
That was only 3 radio stations.
Yeah.
3 or 4.
Yeah.
Are you trying to sing for us?
You want us to ask questions?
Sure.
Okay. Are you from the 1885 or 1888? What was that?
That was over 3 radio stations, 2,
Yeah.
3, or 4.
Yeah.
Are you trying to sing for?
How about any spirits of cats? Do we have any cats here? No.
Maybe that's why I felt it on the bed.
Maybe.
Because I just felt it on the, maybe the cat's jumping on the bed. Because it didn't move the top of me, it just moved by my butt.
Yeah.
I didn't even think of that.
There was a cat in almost every room for their companionship.
I wish there was a cat in there now. I would love that if there was a cat.
What is the whistles?
Did you hear that?
Whistling. Did you hear whistling?
Yeah, I heard something.
I heard it like that. I just whistled.
Yeah, Diane just whistled, but I heard something before that.
Yeah, me too.
Oh, thank God.
I heard whistling.
Could you do that again so we can hear you now that the machine is off?
What word does that say? Scary?
Scary, it stopped on scary. I just heard another voice. Then it said, hello.
Hello, are you here with us? Is this the original bar to the speakeasy? Which is the whistles?
Did you hear that?
Whistling. Did you hear whistling?
Yeah, I heard something.
I heard it like that. I just whistled.
Yeah, Diane just whistled, but I heard something before that.
Yeah, me too.
Oh, thank God.
I heard whistling.
Could you do that again so we can hear you now that the machine is off?
Hello, are you here with us? Do you have some whiskey for us? We want some whiskey or some Windsor. How about a dance? Would you like to dance with us?
Dun, 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 dun. Does anybody see my gal?
5'2",
Eyes of blue.
la 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 la.
Anybody see my gal? Did Scott Fitzgerald ever come down here?
Let's hear some music.
So I'm like, I don't wanna.
Let's hear some music.
So I'm like, I don't wanna.
Can you play us some music? Is there a doctor in the house? Two doctors.
Is that what it said?
I don't know, it sounded like it.
It said
sound like
something.
doctors?
Yeah.
Two doctors.
Doctor Who?
Okay, well, here we are, Debbie. It's been a little while since we've done the Anderson house.
Yes.
But I thought I would share some things with you today about what I learned regarding the history of Sarah and the Sea Wing disaster. Do you remember?
Oh, really? Okay.
Do you remember
I'm interested.
Do you remember who Sarah is? And
Is Sarah the one where she thought her husband died? And then is she the one also that threw the dimes?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So they think
Yeah.
the Anderson house is haunted by a woman named Sarah. Now, Debbie and I had no idea until we were well into our investigation who Sarah was.
Right.
And I only got online because Debbie was having,
Premonitions.
premonitions and spirit talking to her about a woman being in her room, and that somehow things were tied to the Titanic or another shipwreck. So later on in the night, I got on online, and we found out that Sarah was waiting for her husband at the Anderson house, and then he didn't show. She was supposed to meet him there first. He didn't show, and then she heard of the Sea Wing disaster, and she thought that he had died, and she found out later that he wasn't on the ship. Sorry to interrupt. I just want to clarify. Sarah was a guest at the Anderson house. Her husband was supposed to arrive there to meet her, and she learned that the Sea Wing steamer went down. She thought her husband was dead, so she killed herself. So I'm not sure if she killed herself at the Anderson or not, but she is a ghost that is thought to haunt the Anderson house today. It was later learned that her husband did not die and that he survived. I don't know if he was someone who refused to get back on the boat once the storm was arriving, or if he was one of the men that survived. There were over 50 men that survived, so he could have been one that did, or if he actually didn't come because he was leaving her. I really don't know, but at any rate, she killed herself in response to this, and she is the one that is thought to be haunting the Anderson house. I mean, Debbie and I found out about the Sea Wing disaster, and people really don't know about it. And what's really wild about that is that it is considered the most deadly domestic shipwreck in America of all time.
America?
In America.
Wow.
Inland.
Oh,
So
inland.
that
Okay.
doesn't count, oceans,
like the Titanic or anything, but
right. And whether or not there really was a tie to the Titanic, I don't know that yet. But anyways, so what happened was that there was a logging boat that these two captains decided to turn into an excursion boat for daytime trips for people to get some extra money. So they took this logging boat called the Sea Wing, and they organized a weekend day-long getaway. And so let me share my screen.
holy crepes.
Yeah. So let me just recap you talking about the Sea Wing, that your premonition of the that there had been a shipwreck, and here you are at the Anderson house, and folks that are seeing this video have already seen it in a better format.
Do you know if the Anderson house is connected to the Titanic?
I do not know. Why? What are you sensing?
Because I feel like someone that was either in the Titanic, or maybe they were going to the Titanic, or there's some kind of Titanic connection. I really feel in this room.
Well, look at it. It says tragedy known as Minnesota's Titanic.
Exactly. And I was going to tell you that when you look online, they are calling it Minnesota's Titanic, which
oh
is,
my God, are you kidding?
yes, I thought you would be interested in that. So, and there's actually a YouTube video called Minnesota's Titanic, the Sea Wing disaster. And this is, yeah. So I thought you might like that. But let me go.
Spirit's good. I'm telling you, holy crepes.
Yeah. This is a picture of the Sea Wing on an everyday on the river. And if you look right here, this part, do you see my cursor? Yep. Mm-hmm. Like you'll see later on in pictures, that's the only thing sticking out of the water. But that's a basic picture of the Sea Wing. And this is a picture the day that they left, and it's really blurry. And what I want to show to you though is that they had the boat here, and then they had a barge tied to it because the boat could only hold about 175 people. And that's pretty much what it was licensed for. So they took a barge over here and they stuffed another 50, 60 people on the barge and tied it with a rope to the Sea Wing. So there were actually two boats tied together. And this
is a lot of people. Is that Is that actually the people?
Yes. So this is a picture of the people that went that day. And if you see these guys on the bottom, they're actually sitting on the roof of the barge. So that's
Gotcha.
the barge down here. But you can see that there's more men than women, and you can see the women in their beautiful dresses.
Yes, look at how pretty they are. Wow.
Absolutely. And it's just so sad because they had no idea. But I'll keep this picture up for a while I talk a little bit more. So they were supposed to go on like a 25-mile trip down the Mississippi, but the Mississippi widens into Lake Pepin, and it's beautiful and wide and acts like a lake for many, many miles. And so they were going down the Mississippi onto Lake Pepin, but it's very wide. And so that's why it's really susceptible to winds. But they were going on a one-day excursion. So they went to Red Wing, Minnesota, and they picked up, I think it was close to 200 people plus a stringed orchestra.
Wow.
And what they wanted to do was to then sail down the river to Frontenac and Lake City, because the National Guard was there. They were all camped out, and they were going to have a dressed parade. So people knew they were coming, so they put up popcorn booths and lemonade booths, and it was like a fair. And people brought picnic lunches, and it was going to be a big fair kind of picnic day for these people. So they went to the fair, and they found out that the parade wasn't going to start till 7 o'clock, but they were scheduled to leave at 5 or 6. So some of the passengers talked to Captain Weathern, I think his name was, and asked if they could stay till 7, which was a factor. If they had left, they would have missed the storm. But they decided to wait an hour or two later. And then during the storm, the weather picked up, and the National Guard's men ran to their tents, and there was just this terrible windy storm. They didn't know that there was a tornado actually on the river 60 miles north, because in that day, there weren't weather reports.
Right.
So, and then the captain, several other rivermen that ran boats said, please don't leave, it's not safe. And the captain saw the weather clear for a little bit, so he thought, oh, it's going away. So at 8 o'clock, he blew the whistle and asked everybody to come back to the boat. But at that time, it looked so foreboding that some of the people said, I'm not getting back on that boat. I'm not doing it. So a lot of people didn't get back on the boat. And then that created space for other people to buy a ticket to get on the boat that weren't supposed to be on the boat. But in any rate, half hour later, this big gale came up, and the captain steered into the gale, which is what he was taught to do. Had he stayed to shore, they may have lived. But a half hour later, a wind hit the boat. It turned to a 45-degree angle, and then another wind came along and smacked it, and it turned upside down. And the women and children that were on the barge down here, a lot of them left the barge because they said there was objectionable behavior. So I don't know what that was in that day, but a bunch of women may have survived, but they decided to go on the ship because there was some behavior that they thought was unruly. And then they were asked to go into the cabin down below of the ship, and they actually got trapped there. So there were 57 women and children on board, and 50 died that were in the cabin because they couldn't get out, and water came in right away. Right away, people were, knocked into the water, and, a half hour later, everything was over with. The dead were dead. And so 98 people died out of 215. And 57 of them, I think, were women and children, or 50, something like that. And so then it became like, apparently this is a picture of that top part that I told you about. So these are men from Lake City and the National Guard trying to retrieve bodies and do a rescue and recovery effort. And I guess what people at Lake City say is that there was so much lightning that they could see people trying to swim and people dying, and that bodies were already floating to shore, and the lightning was illuminating everything, and that it was this really tragic and gorish scene. But then the river barge, it broke off, and almost everybody on there except for one person survived. That one, they all climbed up on the roof. and whoever could hang on to the roof survived, and they got to shore. And those are the people that got help from the police. And they had the National Guard there, like, I don't know, 1,000 men. And so the National Guard, they had this huge recovery and effort, crew already right there. And so,
So they already had the National Guard already at that time?
yeah.
Wow, I
Yep.
didn't know that.
Yeah, if you look online about this, they show all their white tents all in a row where they're camping and all that kind of stuff. And to me, I'm just guessing 1,000 men, but it was a lot.
And what year was this again?
1890. So this was
wow.
actually like 22 years, I'm guessing, before the Titanic.
Even before the Titanic. Oh, wow.
Yeah, absolutely. And by midnight that night, they had tied a rope to the sea wing and pulled it ashore, and they carried out the bodies of the women and children. And there another 50 people washed up ashore right around midnight. They just were washing up on shore. And then at that point, that's, what they recovered. They had more people to recover. So there was all these dead bodies floating up on shore. But there were more people. So the National Guard, shot 300 pounds of dynamite into the lake, and it didn't do any good. And then so I think I got my number wrong I think they got 50 some people the first night, and then they did the dynamite, and it took 4 days for all the bodies for the lake to give up the bodies and for them all to come inshore. But it was
what did the dynamite do?
They shoot the dynamite into the bottom of the lake, and hopefully it'll shake bodies that are down at the bottom so that they'll float up on top. I'm not sure what the science is. I think the body itself has to give up some gases or something to surface.
Right.
I don't really know.
Yeah.
But anyways, and then they had this big memorial service in Red Wing, like a week later, for everybody that died, and 5,000 people attended the service in Red Wing. It was a really big deal. If you can think of in 1890 to gather 5,000 people for a funeral, it was a really big deal.
So they must have came from far away to nearby. If you have 5,000 people, because I'm sure there wasn't 5,000 people in Red Wing.
No, probably not. No, not from what I can see of the pictures. And the sad thing was, they could have left on time. People could have worn life preservers. They had, I'm going to read it from my list here. But they had, if I can find it, they had more than enough life preservers, and they had lifeboats. They had all sorts of things, but nobody thought that they needed to put them on,
Right.
So that was really tragic too. And then, they had, here it is. They had 175 wood floats. They had 175 cork and tube life preservers. They had 7 lifeboats, and with 28 oars, and that the passengers didn't use any of it. So that was pretty sad too. And then they had an investigation, and I should show you more pictures here. So this is the sea wing again, the day it took off, and over here you see it at its 45-degree angle. As they're pulling it out, you see there's men up here doing something to pull it out of the water. And this is a picture of the guardsmen pulling a body of a dead woman off of it looks like the sea wing is over here. So they pulled her out, and they're putting her on a skiff or a canoe to get her back to shore. So that's a really sad picture.
Yeah.
And this is the captain, and this is his wife and 2 boys. They were all on the ship. And the captain survived. His oldest son survived, but he lost his wife and young son.
Oh.
Yeah, very sad. So there was an investigation, and they recommended that he have criminal charges, but they never charged him. And there was some thought that maybe they didn't charge him because they thought he suffered enough losing his wife and child.
Hi y'all, I'm Pamela Pupkin, and you're about to do Pamela Pupkin's Halloween workout. Woo! This is Alan. All right, come on. Shake off the Skittles, shake off the Reese's, shake off those candy corns. Now ride the witch's broom, ride the witch's witch's broom. Ride the witch's broom. Ride the witch's broom. Squash Satan, kick him in the crotch. Squash Satan, kick him in the crotch. Squash Satan, kick him in the crotch. Kick that Satan in the crotch. Zombies to the left. Zombies to the right. Zombies to the left. Zombies to the right. Break it down. I'm a scarecrow doing the robot. Break it down. I'm a scarecrow doing the robot. Whoop, there's a spider web. Whoop, there's a ghost. Whoop, there's a black cat shaking. Whoop, there's a spider web. Whoop, there's a ghost. Whoop, there's a black cat shaking. Whoop, the evil spirits and bash Beelzebub. Whoop, the evil spirits and bash Beelzebub. Ellen, get it together.
So, we heard about this Sarah that was maybe haunting Debbie's room.
Right.
And apparently, what was the dime part again, Debbie?
Well, I thought because remember when we were ghost hunting, when you said you heard a voice, but I heard something being thrown, and it was like a kadunk. Do you know what I mean? But we didn't know at the time that she threw dimes to say that she was here. For some reason, it was like kind of like pennies from heaven, but it was a dimes that she would throw. I don't know the whole story around it. We probably have to look that up, but that was being said was her throwing dimes. So when you said, oh, I hear, because I went, hello, like that, because I heard something and you thought I was saying hello because of the woman's voice you heard.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I heard a woman clear as day go, hi, like that one. And Debbie and I were in our rooms that were right across the hallway from each other. And I thought, that doesn't sound like Debbie. So I went in her room and said, hey, did you hear a woman say hi? You didn't say hi. And she said, no. She said, but I heard this ting, like something was like bouncing off the radio, like a little ting. And so it makes sense, about that.
Right.
And then we even had some other kind of creative thought too, that, when we left our room, we made sure our doors were locked. And when we came back in, Debbie's suitcase was unzipped, and it's like someone tried to open it like a little bookcase, and it was standing there like that.
Yeah. And they call them shipper trunks, or what did they call it again?
Steamer trunks.
Steamer trunks. Yeah. Because they open up like the old steamer trunks, and my suitcase was standing up. And when I opened up the door, because you had a hard time with your door getting it locked, but my door was,
we checked
put a bunch of the stuff in my room because we were going to go out to dinner and have our White Russians that we always have before a ghost hunt.
Here we are at the Afton house, which is notoriously haunted, and we are beginning 2 ghost hunts today, so you know what that means.
White Russians to a good ghost hunt. Cheers to you and to us.
Okay, there we go.
Oh my goodness gracious, it's spooky in here. Oh,
and you know what that means.
You know what that means.
White Russians! Woo! Join us live.
And so we put it all in my room. And so then I was like opening up the door because the suitcase was right there next to the door. And I'm like, why is my suitcase open? But it was open this way, not flat open that way. It was standing up and open. It was crazy.
Yeah. And even at the time you felt there was a woman there, and you said, I feel like maybe it's what she was used to as far as how you open a suitcase,
Right. Like
so
if you're a maid or whatever, you open up your trunk that way. Or even if it was Sarah or whatever, do you know what I'm saying? But it was like, because I felt like it was very high society there at the Anderson house. Mm-hmm. And didn't you say it was like one of the first hotels in Minnesota? Mm-hmm. So people that were poor weren't going to stay there. People that were rich were going to stay there. Do you know what I'm saying? So I feel like they probably had an assistant or a maid or whatever you want to call them, a servant or whatever. And they probably said, okay, she's in the room. I'm going to open up her thing for her and put her stuff away or whatever. Do you know what I mean? That was kind of funny.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just wild. You know, I've lived in Minnesota my whole life. I've never heard that the largest inland disaster was in 1890 in Minnesota.
Yeah.
You know,
I lived in Minnesota many years when I was a kid, and then my daughter lives there now and visit. I've never heard of it. I've never heard of it.
yeah. And then Debbie said, wouldn't it be cool if we could, on the way back, we could find where these bodies, where their ship rolled in after the storm and where these bodies came in. And I said, well, all it said it was 60 miles from St. Paul. And I said,
well, I wanted to, I'm going to interrupt you for a minute. I wanted to know where the shipwreck happened.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yep. And then I said, you know, I feel like we're 60 miles from St. Paul right now. And there was this restaurant called the Lake City Restaurant or something. I said, I've always wanted to eat there. So we stopped there, and then I'll let you tell what happened. We knew the shipwreck happened at Central Point. And so we didn't know where that was.
But we didn't know where Central Point was because we couldn't find it on a map or anything like that. So we go to this restaurant that Diane, when we drove to the Anderson house, she's like, years ago, I've always wanted to eat at this restaurant. I heard good things about this restaurant. So we're like, okay, so on the way back, we'll hit that restaurant. So we are getting back from the Anderson, and at the same time, we're talking about this ghost hunt that we just did, and and then we heard, and then you looked up about Sarah and the dimes and things like that. So we go to this restaurant, and I'm still going, I wonder where it happened. I wonder where the shipwreck happened, because if it happened somewhere, maybe do a ghost hunt there. Do you know what I mean? And so we go to the restaurant, we ask all the waitresses, and they're like, no, have no idea what you're talking about. And so then I finally go to the waitress and I said, well, where's Central Point? And she's like, right here. And we're like, what? Right here? And she's like, yeah, this is Central Point. And we're like, what? But you didn't hear about this? She's like, no, I never heard of it. Then we look outside the window, and there's a steamer boat there, just kind of like the Sea Wing, right? So we're like, oh my God, there's like a steamer boat there. And then Spirit said, look down on the ground. And I look on the ground, and there was a dime. And I look up the information, and it said Central Point. And guess what? This steamboat is at Central Point, and the restaurant was at Central Point. So I feel like we were going to be communicating with this spirit tonight at Red Wing. 98 people died. Then we find out that they brought the bodies to the St. James Hotel. We're like, oh my God, this is all fitting together. In the basement, they put them all in the basement down there, and that's why they had the big funeral there. So
yeah, because almost all the people were, like 150 people boarded at Red Wing, so they were Red Wing citizens. And so we went and did a ghost hunt in the basement where we thought the dead bodies came in also. So we have that on tape. We're not even drinking. We're being eaten by an elevator. All right, we can do it.
We can do it.
Okay, step off the thing.
The doors keep on closed.
Okay.
I'm taking out of here.
Okay, this honestly, this cart weighs 500 pounds. So for your toesies. All right.
Okay.
Let's just talk a little bit about the Anderson house. Do you remember at the Anderson house for many years, you could rent a cat to your room? They'd bring a cat to your room for the night for your comfort. So they had all these cats, and the cats would go to someone's room for the night. Well, for whatever reason, I said, is there a spirit of a cat here? I suppose because of that.
Oh,
and then I just said, meow, like that, maybe a little better. And then right after I say that, there's an EVP that comes through. That's a meow.
Oh, wow.
And it either the spirit's imitating a meow, but it sounds like a cat to me, or a spirit imitate, but it's right after I say that. And then I say meow, and then there's a better meow coming right back at me through the spirit box. So it's pretty weird, you know?
Yeah.
So
that's cool. I like that.
the crystal's moving on the lamp, and the lamp shimmering when the floor wasn't shimmering. And we had a really hard time capturing that on camera. Well, I suppose we should probably end this, and I'm looking forward to putting this on the Anderson tape.
Yeah, this is great. Good information. I love that.
Yeah. So
I cannot believe that it says Minnesota Titanic. Oh my God.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's known as
Because I just
Minnesota's
kept on going.
Titanic.
I keep on feeling like this is connected to. So they were probably trying to say to me, Minnesota Titanic, or whatever. Because you got to remember, it's not like dialing a phone and the spirit's talking to me on the phone. You know, I just get
Mhm.
bits and pieces of information.
Yep.
But that was pretty strong. That was pretty
Yeah.
strong. That's pretty amazing to me.
Yeah. But it's pretty
I love
interesting.
that.
Pretty interesting what we uncover when we go
I know.
places.
Yep. We always
All
seem
right.
to find cool history or information of the place. Yes. So
Well, Debbie, do you want to do your trademark goodbye?
I want to do my blessings and smiles. Until next time, join us on our ghost hunts. We want to give you
Thanks,
a
Mel.
grandma hug and blessings and smiles. Bye bye.
And remember, everybody needs a grandma, even the dead.
Yep. Everybody needs a grandma.
Okay, Debbie's gonna do a maze. I don't know if she'll be able to figure it out. I don't know if we'll ever see her again. Here she goes. She's gonna do the maze. Oh my gosh, she's lost. Keep going, Debbie. She made it.